webinar on learning experience with Digital 4.0, organized by ETHR World and StratBeams. I'm your host for this webinar. My name is Tarana Kaushik and I'm Senior Lead at Economic Times. In these past few months, dramatic changes in the work world have made online learning essential in the lives of organizations as well as employees. Specific to the pharmaceutical industry, the significance and need for e-learning has remarkably expedited. Today's webinar on learning transformation in the pharma industry will address this question and will help you figure out effective strategies to reconstruct this sector's road to digital learning success. To help put everything in order, may I now invite our esteemed speakers for the webinar. I warmly welcome Sameer Nigam, who is the Chief Executive Officer at StratBeams, a company that drives digital transformation through AI-based online learning. He is an IIT and IIM Ahmedabad alumni, and he has over 20 years of experience in the strategy formulation and implementation. He has been focused on driving growth. He loves golfing and fencing. Thank you,
Thank you.
Sameer, for being here. It's a
Thank
pleasure
you
to
for
have
having
you.
me here.
With this, we move on to introducing our second speaker for this webinar. Keeping in tone with the pharmaceutical industry and the theme of this webinar, we have a very special guest with us today. Allow me to introduce to you Ms. Archana Bhaskar, who is the CHRO at Dr. Reddy's. Archana has over 30 years of professional experience across diverse industries, geographies. She has done a range of Asian, European, regional, and global roles with Shell and Unilever. An alumni of Lady Sri Ram and I am Bangalore, Archana's passion and belief in people power of organizations has led her to choose a career in human resources. An interesting fact about her and her personal achievements during COVID times is she's done a 3 hours walking virtual meeting and she's been climbing 102 floors in her building. She's also managed to take a week away from work and with a record average of less than 2 minutes spent on screen. That is really marvelous. I guess that's because she believes good health can't wait. Thank you so much, Archana, for joining us today, and we really appreciate your contribution to the pharmaceutical industry. Before
I
we
will use the
begin,
greeting of COVID times, which is thank you.
that's great. Before we begin, I would also like to inform all your participants that if you have any questions during the discussion and presentation, please put them in the comment box. I will take them up after our discussion. Now, to start the conversation, my first question to you, Archana, if you could give us a general overview of the pharmaceutical sector in India.
Thank you, Tarana, for that question. I think it was not very long ago that countries and societies were talking about, safety and security of energy supplies and oil supplies. And now that you look at the newspapers and you look at what's being written, it's all about securing medical supplies to medicines, vaccines, and cures for various diseases. It really is a very important industry today because well-being of people is becoming more and more prominent in today's world, and it's not just purely in the sense of taking care of illnesses. It really is about being well and fully energetic. A lot of developments that are happening, which is equipment, therapeutics, all those kind of things that are adding to this whole industry. India has always been a very important player in the generics pharmaceutical space in particular. And as many of you know, I'm sure those who joined are from the pharma company. India is known as the pharmacy to the world, the pill factory to the world. And these have been the various covers on various magazines. The industry today in India is just over $40 billion in terms of turnover. As per the Indian Pharmaceutical Association, the expectation is that it will be 3 times the size in about 8 to 10 years time, which is over 130 billion dollars, which is very, very significant. 60% of the world's vaccines actually are made in India. If you go to the Americas, 1 out of 3 pills is made in India. Many such facts to narrate. 25% of UK's medical medicines come from India and so on. It's we hold a place of great responsibility in the world's medical ecosystem. That's what I would say. It's a very interesting place to be, and it's a responsible place to be as far as societal needs are concerned.
That's quite informative, Archana. Now, given the prominent place of pharmaceutical industry, what are your views on the internal capability building challenges for this industry?
Lots of them, Tarana. Actually, this industry has grown significantly in India, and people have grown with the industry. So therefore, not many organizations have systematically invested in and developed capabilities. They've developed it as they've developed their businesses, unlike many other industries. Our world is changing, as is the world of many, many other industries. Big shifts, if I can call out, it's the regulatory landscape is changing. Most regulators in the world are changing what the requirements of what is expected in terms of what people know, how they do their jobs in the plants, and people have to keep up with that. So it's not enough just to know how to carry out a process. Regulators today expect even the plant operators to know why a certain process is being carried out in the way that's being carried out, what to do if it goes wrong, and so on. Technology and digital is the second big thing that's happening. Processes are getting automated in the lab. For example, quality tests are getting digitized. These are all enabling us to be more productive and be more cost efficient, which ultimately generics industry aims to create affordability for medicines so that more people can access those medicines. Yeah? And the third big pillar of this really is about productivity and operational excellence, which the pharma industry is just learning to take from auto industry and others that have done so well in the past, TPM and so many others, Ocean, all kinds of Jishuos and all kinds of methods are there. And pharma is just beginning to embrace that operational excellence journey. So these are big capability areas that are presenting themselves as both opportunities and challenges because of the nature of the workforce that we have and the way we have operated in the past. That's my view.
Yeah, very well. Now I would like to turn to Samir and request him to share his thoughts on various ways of internal capability building that are prevalent in the industry today.
So I'll say, while classroom training is the most elementary and popular way of training in most industries right now, but as the organizations grow, the emphasis shifts to online learning. And recently, we have seen a spike in demand for intelligent technology platforms. Now, these platforms can address not only the capability or skill development, but also along with mapping of capability and very high level of reporting. So smart organizations are really not happy with a calendar of training or a dated Excel sheet containing competency metrics. They demand actual real-time inventory, positions of these competencies, if you would. I mean, Archana was comparing manufacturing to the learning that have come from there. So the inventory method has also come from manufacturing industry also, and so therefore the organizations, they are saying, okay, now what are the gaps vis-a-vis the competencies that are required for overall business strategy implementation. Now you see, HR has become very strategic nowadays, and it is really well connected to the business strategy. And so the three questions that organizations ask, if I summarize it for you, is that first thing is that to be successful business, which competencies I need and in what quantity. Now that comes from the strategic management team, of course. But then the second question is how to discover the current status of competencies that workforce has. Now this is a difficult piece. Discovery is a very difficult piece, and it is really not done well today through the existing platforms. So how many people in the other SBUs or locations could have the same skills that maybe you are looking for your projects? And then the third thing is, now if there are gaps, now how to fill them? And to fill them in a personalized plan for each individual in the workforce, not in a role-wise carpet bombing approach, if you would, which a legacy LMS or training calendar would work for. So Tarana, in a nutshell, I'll say that the organizations are moving away from simple digital tools to intelligent learning platforms, which are based on such AI technologies, or, they create the entire environment.
That is some great insights, Samir. Can you also give us a glimpse of how such technology platforms operate?
Oh, of course, I can do that for you. Let me share a little bit for you. Now, what I'm going to tell you is that let me show you how all of it comes together. So now what you see here is that all the business lines of an organizations are laid out in front of me. And since I'm viewing as a person higher up, so I can see all the business lines, and someone with limited scope would see a narrower view. Now, if I get inside one of those business lines, which I'm trying to focus on today, and within that, if I want to select, let's say, a particular side of the organization, then you will see something like this. Let me show you that. Something like this. So let me explain this to you. What are you looking at? So here you get a breakdown of actual competencies. That means something for the effective sales, let's say. So imagine I'm launching a new drug as a product manager in, let's say, Western region in the month of October. So I better build up right set of people on the ground by September. Otherwise, I am going to be in the soup. So look at what we see here. So you under competencies, you see these three competencies. Now you see the vascular medicine treatments for that kind of launch that I'm doing are very high importance, as you see in the next column over there. Now within that, the challenge is that the people who are at level 1 or people who are at level 2 or level 3, they are reflected there, but you see in red the number of people that I really am missing right now. So I set it up on this platform, and now so what will happen is, so once I do that, so I can activate the let's say my, if you would, the competency aspiration, and here the learning collaboration platform will do the rest for you. Now let me switch the side and show you what will happen on the ground. So while I'm doing these things on as a manager, and I'm defining my competencies and my plan and everything in place, for a learner it will start looking like this. So what you are seeing here is a personalized recommendation for a learner, and you will say that what is really very special about it here. So you see here the items that are precisely curated just for you. These are the system recommendations for you. Just as you see in Netflix right now, people go watch a movie and then you start seeing the recommendations, because the Netflix knows what is your taste. The things that you need to self-study, they are put in front of you. But also, if you were at a level 1 on a competency, but the your organization needs people at level 3, then it will start recommending interesting material to you, which takes you to level 2 and 3. So all this has come out using a thorough look at what you already know. So it's not like totally created in vacuum. It is very personalized. And what will make you better in becoming a consultant to your customer is the idea in this case. So all the learning is basis your interest and also as per your organization needs. So it's a win-win. Tarana, a typical LMS, however, is not very customized. It would be prescriptive to you, and it will give you content role wise. This one knows you closer, not as a role but as a unique person. So that is what this kind of technology does for you.
That is quite interesting. Archana, can you describe for us what kind of learning culture is there in pharmaceutical organizations? And what are the challenges that are there for employee training?
Yeah, I think some of these Samir really talked about, and I'll come to those in a minute. I think primarily pharma in India has been focused on delivering learning that relates to compliance. So just for license to operate, people need to know, be able to understand and answer questions on what's the standard operating procedure, for example, in manufacturing a pill. And that's been the focus. Everything that relates to compliance is what people have been trained, and very systematically, because you need to keep records, you need to show that the person knows what they're doing. because at the end of the day, it's about patient safety. You have to assure patient safety through how you carry out your processes. Similarly, when you're in the market selling to doctors, your sales rep really needs to understand details of the medicines that they are selling. Now that is basically, as Samir was saying, delivered a lot in the operations through classroom training, and even sometimes paper and pencil tests, and the records were kept somewhere else in terms of showing proof that the people have learned. And very difficult anyway for a sales force because they're dispersed, they don't come to a physical workplace, so push to them through their handheld tablets that they've been holding. On top of that, I think this need to learn has been limited. So if you take IT industry, just because technology keeps changing, people know that if they don't learn, for example, a new programming language or a new technology, they'll be out of jobs. They won't be resourced on projects. That kind of a compulsion hasn't really existed in this industry. So the pull it's largely been push, but it's not really been pull. The quality of learning resources has been a challenge again. I mean, there are very few pharma-specific courses that have been available to people readily. There are some in the West, but usually they've been very expensive. And the delivery, and this Samir gave a beautiful example of how delivery can be, you can create delight for the user through a great delivery experience, through a great user experience, by understanding the individual needs. In terms of the concept itself is very simple, that you need to know what skills you need to have in order to deliver your role effectively. You need to be able to make some assessment of where you are, the discovery, as he was saying. And then it's about making sure that I have a good experience of accessing what I need, the resources that I need to fill those gaps. Very difficult to do in reality. Really, there are some and then digital ability to reach people, because some of our populations and plants, for example, don't have laptops, they don't carry phones inside the production area and so on. So delivery challenges are both virtual as well as physical.
So my next question goes to Samir. What are the ways in which your organization is providing solutions to these learning challenges of pharma industry?
We are offering a range of innovative solutions, and it's not only to the pharma industry but to a lot of other industries as well. Now, as if we focusing on the pharma industry today, so then as you see today, Archana talking about compliance based compliance trainings, or patient safety. Those are the important areas, and then there are knowledge of specific medications, how do they work, those kind of things you are trying to train. So let me quickly show you a couple of things here. Some of the DIY tools are very helpful in such situations. Do-it-yourself tools are needed when you are trying to train subject matter experts through subject matter experts. It's not that the people whom you're trying to train in pharma industry, you will see that they are really good experts already. So in this category, what we bring to you is a set of tools. Two tools I'm trying to talk to you about today. One is called Beyond. It was also known as GoAnimate. Now through this, what you can do is you can create animations, and you can create that animation to tell a story. Now you can use it for trading, you can use it for general communications, you can really do a lot of stuff around it. The other item in the DIY category is called Articulate. So our product Articulate 360 right now is used by about 98,000 organizations globally, and more than 104 million users are doing it when they are using it. So I mean, it's a big penetration that we have through this tool, and sort of brings together a lot of intelligence into the learning environment. Now in the pharma sector also, among those 98,000 customers we have, there are prominent players of pharma also utilizing our platform, but not only in India, in 151 countries. So we have also made available a lot of course libraries. You heard Archana say that there's not enough course available. So there are course libraries that we have provided. There are more than 45,000 videos in them, a lot of course material that you can pick and choose. Now that may not be sufficient many times. So after DIY platforms, we give you services from many of our delivery centers. And there are many things we give you there. So complete solution to upgrade your learning process using custom videos, if you would, or automation of classroom. And right now we are seeing a lot of video conferencing happening, or a learning experience platform. But our most important and most popular and latest innovation has been what is called learning collaboration platform. So let me show you what it is. I mean, just a 20,000 feet view over here. The beauty of this platform is that learning collaboration platform, it sits as an intelligent layer on top of your regular LMS and whatever else the pharma organizations already have, because you see pharma organizations are very technology rich, so they may have a lot of things already coming from their legacy systems. We just make it smarter by using that kind of intelligent layer technology on top of it. So now then this intelligent layer becomes your effective command center. So one of the examples I'm trying to give you here is that organizations start discovering their best talent using it. Now these talents are sometimes underutilized and even unknown. Many customers, they call themselves gurus, and then they empower them with tools and technologies that the platform offers. Our platform has a lot of embedded tools which can be used by these people. So many things you can do. Now I'm going to show you one interesting bit which I'm sure you will like. Let me say, just to take you to the next slide here. What do you see here? So what you see here is one of the gurus from among, let's say, 100 gurus that you identified in your organization. And then what you do is, you give him a microsite. And so this guru is now related to some key competency. Now that part is very important. The key competency which the organization had identified in the planning stage itself, that these are the things which are going to take us through the competition and through the differentiation. And now the learning collaboration platform has given tools and personalized microsite to this guru, and so that he can create his own island and sort of put blogs, documents, videos, and there are so many smarter ways next generation learners are using. So they're stirring up a commotion there. And when that happens, then what will happen is the next thing, it will create aspiration in all the other people. All the other folks will say, hey, who are these guys? What are they doing? Let me follow them. Let me see what they're doing. Now, when you start liking them, you start following them. Now that creates a culture. Now we are hitting at that level. So we are hitting at the level of really transforming the whole organization. So Tarana, if it creates a learning culture assisted with high-end digital transformation of workplace, while very precisely moving the dial of key competencies in the right direction, that is what we're trying to give.
Okay, that's interesting. Archana, since medical representatives form the core of a pharma sales, what role learning collaboration and LXP platforms like these play in helping them?
Yeah, very good question, because more than anything else, because of COVID, the job and the role of the pharma sales reps has really changed dramatically. As traditional sales rep roles in pharma were really about waiting outside doctor cabins for hours on end, and for the 1 minute that they got with the doctor to somehow show them something and generate a prescription. And that waiting outside the doctor's cabin has disappeared. The untimely food and all the travel has disappeared. So what really remains is the crux of the interaction, which is how do you create a great interaction with the doctor in a way that makes sense to the doctor, creates value for him. And therefore, I think a lot of the sales fraternity will really have to learn to use digital far more effectively. So it's about a lot of the companies today are putting in place platforms for connecting with doctors virtually. So what you would do standing in front of him, now you do it on a phone or through some platform. For sure, this will mean that the method of engagement in terms of the sales pitch itself or the marketing material that you go to the doctor will have to all change. It will also mean that there's a greater ability to contact more doctors, reach more of the customers, and data will clearly play a big role. So you should be able to intelligently analyze, because you now just have the ability to reach people differently within the same period of time, be more effective with what you do. It's always been difficult to get sales reps into a room because they all operate in different areas. But that opportunity also doesn't exist now. So even their own learning, they have to continue to do virtually. And in fact, many pharma organizations have used this time that the sales reps could not be in the hospitals and doctors because of the lockdown to really enhance their learning. They've been sending them learning materials, and very good offtake of that. So a wonderful opportunity actually to change the resourcing model, to change the quality of the people who are in the sales field, and also to create interactions with doctors which are far more value adding to the doctor as well.
That's quite interesting insight, This brings me to Samir and ask him, what are the key things that you feel are available for strengthening the sales side of pharmaceutical organizations, Samir?
Okay, so if I say sales side, we have been helping a lot of organizations in doing their sales better. And let me start by saying that small things matter a lot in the sales situation when people are under stress and they're standing outside a doctor's room. So, so I'm going to talk about performance support and role play, these two things for you. So if you do the maths with me, Tarana, so let's say the performance support engine that you embed in a learning platform properly, let's say. So you will agree with me that it will save you at least 15 minutes for you in a year, and maybe it can help you 6-7 times in a year, can't it? And now if you sort of take it further, and let's say you're a pharma organization with about 2,000 people in the business unit, then that saving, work with me here, would mean equivalent of 9 crore INR or 1.2 million US dollars of saving for you, just by saving 15 minutes for high value people 6 times or 7 times in a year. So as an example from the pharma manufacturing, and if you see what Archana was talking about, that it's a stressful situation, and the medical representative is really trying to make the most of that 1 minute that he's getting with the doctor. Now imagine a piece of information is missing and you try to find that. So one of the things I want to show you is a performance support engine. It can do some kind of a magic for you. So a person looking for something will speak to let's say a mobile interface, or you could sort of speak, or maybe type it out as a query quickly. And what will happen is something like this. Maybe I wanted to know something about nutritional disorder in children. Any organization is creating a lot of, all the organizations are creating a lot of digital content, a lot of things here. Now the capability of the performance support platforms is that it can tell you that 37th minute or the 5th minute is where you are having that information that you're looking for, because you cannot run the videos in their full length. So it points to the precise location where you go and sort of you can imagine Google on steroids is what I'm talking about. And how it really works is that when you try to get a response like this, when you type a query, then in response to that, the artificial intelligence algorithm sifts through all the knowledge base of your organization and pinpoints to that specific relevant clip and that specific timing that is relevant to you. Now imagine that all happens to you, and you imagine you're working on the PDF, then sort of there are large SOP documents. Also, you see Archana was talking about bulky SOPs being there, a lot of training happening through SOPs. Now what will happen is that you can, through the system, it can respond within seconds, and the key thing is that it also knows who you are. So it doesn't answer blindly. It is not like keyword search or something. It knows what's your context. So you're a salesperson or you are working in manufacturing, so it sort of fine tunes that for you in that sense. Now what happens as a result is that in the new sales efficiency, it can easily add 10 to 15 million US dollars of extra revenue for you, because it makes your sales team all that smarter, especially in the stressful situation that you see. people are. Sales teams are normally in a very stressful situation. Please understand that the medical representatives meet doctors who are far more informed, and this is the only industry where this is happening. Most of the time the sales people know a lot, and they go and they wow the customer and they say, you know what, this is something new I brought to you. Here doctor knows more than you, and you are trying to sell to him, so it's a very different ball game. So having ability to quickly find right answers at your fingertips, that is the key that could mean a lot in the sales for pharma industry. And that is why we are putting all the using the performance support, we are putting all the documents and information and videos to use. I will call it monetizing all the gyan of the organization. This is what we do. The second thing and the last thing I want to tell you here quickly, because it's a quick discussion with you here, is about the importance of flying hours. Now, if you're a good pilot, you need to not really learn the theory, but really fly the planes. This is exactly is in line with what the pharma industry faces. As you remember, Archana was pointing out to MRs needing to continuously learn. And right now they are learning remotely, and a lot of times they have got a lot of situations. Now is a quiet time where they can actually learn a lot. So what happens with the role play engine that we have is that now this is the embedded part of the learning collaboration platform. So what you can do is the trainer can set up a role play, and you can say, okay, you are on a mission, and the situation is the doctor asks you about a comparison with XYZ medication under ABC condition, and what's going to be your reaction to that. Then the medical representatives will be able to record their responses and then send it out so that the experts in the organization can evaluate it and help the MRs perfect their sales pitches. And all this interaction happens remotely, so you really don't need to be sitting in the same room. So Tarana, really what I'm saying is that what we're trying to give to the sales community in general and to pharma industry MRs in particular is how they can beat their stress and sort of face a very stressful situation and still look smart there and be smart there. The second thing is more flying hours for you, more role plays for you, and actual guidance, not necessarily from your close in the room trainers, but somebody who's totally an expert and sitting maybe 2,000 kilometers away from you, while you are sort of just sitting in your drawing room and doing it. So yeah, that kind of things we'll give you, Tarana.
Thank you, Samir. That really helps a lot. So we are open to the questions and answers now. We have already got a few questions from the audience. I'll take them up with each one of you. So Archana, there's few questions for you that the audience wants to know. They want to know that if the training programs in pharma organizations have scaled up, or they're still dependent on complimentary webinars.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of organizations today which are providing customized learning content. I think a lot of global organizations have come to India creating their offerings. The fact that learning is democratized fully now, it's many learnings available to many people around the world, naturally means that there are a lot more resources available. There is less proprietary learning materials being developed, so I don't see individual companies developing their own technical learning content and keeping it to themselves. I think the collaboration is far more because that's what the industry needs. Lot more effort and investment in learning than there has been, for sure.
Thanks, Archana. Samir, another question is to you. Smaller organizations have difficulty arriving at LMS. There are n number of options available. How do we go about selecting one?
So how do you select an LMS? Maybe an easier thing once you know that what is your strategy for training your people and what is really your training need. LMS for a very small organization could just mean more systematizing for your training parts and more reporting capability, so you know what's going on. As you grow, actually you start leveraging more of the distributed capability of LMS. I think the best ability for you would be to really start something quickly where you can track and make people interact with each other. So I'll say the collaboration capability would be the most important for smaller organizations.
Okay, thanks, Samir. Archana, another question to you that the audience wants to know is, what are the threats that you see are there to the pharma industry, especially post this COVID and pandemic situation?
Taranna, did you say threats?
Yeah, the possible threats to the pharma industry, you know.
Okay, so one clearly is about, you would have, again, if you follow the news, you'll say there are a lot of our pharma companies actually dependent. The supply chains are more global. So companies are procuring the API materials from another country, manufacturing them somewhere else, selling them somewhere else. And as each country is kind of shutting its, be careful about what comes in and out of their borders. I think clearly it's both a threat and an opportunity, because it means more manufacturing will happen in local companies, but it means international trade may come down. I think the second big threat is about pricing. So as governments come under pressure on healthcare expenses, there's increasing trend for governments to say, you cannot sell beyond a certain price. Sometimes especially for essential drugs, and that of course creates its own limitations for the industry in how much we can invest and develop new products and so on. I think the third one is about really being able to attract good talent continuously to this industry. On the science side, usually pharma has attracted very good talent, not so much on the manufacturing side and not so much on the sales side. So I think this remains a threat. I believe, again, an opportunity because of the world going virtual, because we will be able to be more inclusive of different kinds of talent. For example, in the sales force, the nature of the role changes.
Sure, Archana. Thank you so much. That really covers all. Samir, another question to you that audience wants to know is how to make SOP training more interesting in pharma.
Okay, so I guess this is one of the big concerns for pharma industry, because SOPs are typically just a paper-based documents, and if you sort of somebody could really feel the weight of that when they're learning it. So one of the important things is to sort of bring the good old interaction design principles of learning technologies already. And I have seen some pharma companies trying to create the video SOP versions of the same SOPs that there are, not necessarily converting everything, because then it's an overkill, but really seeing what are the most important or let's say most frequently accessed components, and sort of either make them more interactive more interactive. So then it's actually a pull for you. I mean, you read something and now you want to read a little more of it. So connecting is one of the big capabilities of e-learning. So when you create video SOP, it can already tell you that, okay, now because you have read this, then why not go and do this thing, which is also very interesting. Now you can watch a video which is very much related to it. So this is one thing we do. And the second thing is to make it searchable. Now that's probably the most important part. Many times you're not trying to remember the SOPs. You use them as a reference material. So you should not need to really remember everything. You just use an interface, type in, let's say, speak in your own vernacular language, and the right section of SOP should be, in front of you. So if that happens, you don't need to worry about how bulky your SOPs are, because you're only looking at a paragraph at a time. So that's the other thing we suggest in those cases.
So if I may just add to that, Taranna, actually there are companies now which are offering for SOPs the augmented reality, virtual reality versions of it. So there are offerings now available where you can actually play around with the process and you can learn that way, and then you can get certified. So it's a nascent area, but very promising. Yeah.
Okay. The next question, Archana, is to you only, that how can we innovate L&D in pharma, which is very technical, and the blend the behavioral aspect as well in the technical subjects?
Yeah, it's my belief is two things drive learning. One is business need, and Samir was talking about it. Eventually, any learning or capability building is only successful if it is very tightly linked to the business agenda. So what the business strategy is or what we're trying to achieve. That we have established, I think, that there is a significant need and shift in how companies will do business, whether it's productivity, whether it's digital, whether it's changes that are happening around us on regulatory. So that need is established. So now the second question is, how do you create the pull? Is in the people, and this needs quite a lot of work. And it will happen because as we evolve to a different way of working, I think only the people who are learning and growing professionally will, quote unquote, survive or will grow in the organization. And the third big factor really is about the kind of things, again, Samir was talking about. I mean, this whole experience of learning is going to become joyful, is becoming joyful. It's really a pleasure to go to a Coursera course, than it wasn't so before. So, I mean, that itself is going to enable really users to go learn, experiment. There's a significant number of people today who have a lot of curiosity and who did not have access to all these resources.
Yeah, so I guess the skilling also plays a role here, like personally how you want to skill yourself. Yes, Samir.
Yes. So you see, Archana was pointing out to this. When you make learning interesting, if you are trying to make it effortless, many times you may not even know that you're learning. And there's a term which is called Netflix eye. What that really means, it's a medical term now because we're talking to pharma industry. Now that is a kind of condition when you have binged watched Netflix for a long hour and you got a certain pattern and you sort of got a sore eye. Now, how does that really happen? That happens because the kind of recommendation engine which works there is somehow making sense. Because you know what, it's not only Netflix that you might have WhatsApp, you might have so many things which could take away your attention. So there is a psychological aspect to it, definitely, which can be leveraged by learning technologies. Now, one of the questions when the customers allow us to do that, then our service teams, they go for some of the psychological techniques. They create the courses in such a way that your curiosity drives you. Now, all these guys whom you're trying to teach, and if they are already experts, they'll probably resist you. They'll say, what the hell can you tell me? I mean, I am somebody who is a medical scientist and I know a lot. Now, such people will come to you and actually binge watch if you can figure out what they're looking for. Now, that's where AI is helpful. That's where these digital techniques are helpful. One has to simply use them. So there are some good experiments happening, like Archana was saying. There are these augmented reality things. I mean, very, very interesting. I mean, you just out of curiosity want to do something, you see that page and something pops out of it, you'll be very tempted to click it, and what do? You learn.
Interesting ways to learn.
So Tarana, if I may just add to that, I think the question also referred to how do you go beyond technical training in pharma. And here again, I would say that it's the need is driven by the changes that are happening in the way businesses run today. So if you talk of, for example, bringing TPM at workplace, or your competitive advantage in the marketplace is very heavily linked to how fast you can get your pill to the market. It suddenly brings up a whole range of soft skills, for example, that people must be good at in order to be effective in their role. So on the shop floor, people must know how to motivate people, align them, review them, manage their performance if they have to create a transformation on the shop floor. Or if you've got to be faster speed to market, it means between different verticals, regulatory, production, R&D, manufacturing, how do you create good working and collaboration? So it immediately throws up the need to collaborate, soft skills of collaboration, influencing, decision making. So these will come by because our context is changing.
I agree. So that comes to another question, which any one of you can address, is how do we address the difficulties of accessibility in the rural market then? That's one of the questions audience has asked.
I can specify one thing, and definitely I would love to hear what Archana has to say. Now in India, when you say rural market, one of the specific challenges I see is also for microfinance companies, not only pharma companies, that the internet is particularly not so much to talk about. So we have created mobile technology which can work on a flicker of an internet, and so we call it low internet to no internet situations. Even in no internet situations, we can make sure that you are able to train your team, and you can know what their assessments are, what are their scores, and still be able to centralize the database. And there are parts to it how we do it. Some part of it is proprietary, and also the DIY tools that we are offering. I was talking about Articulate 360 to you. We have a capability to compress the delivery of the same modules to a level that you can see, especially when you are in a rural area. The other thing about rural area is uh, uh, people are savvy. People know how to use their mobile phones, but you need to talk to them in their local language. So the language and a dialect issue, we have been able to experiment with that also. So once we create, let's say, a learning module, we can quickly have a way of, without increasing the cost too much, having a version which is very suited to that dialect. Then when you see someone talking to you as a trainer in an e-learning, which is very similar to your language, uh, it's not very daunting, or it's not very it encourages you. You feel that it is probably from someone like you only. So that is the other thing very important in the rural market we try to do. I'd love to hear what else is possible.
So I would take the question from a business perspective, and I'd say the starting point really is that the government has been doing a lot of work in providing good healthcare across India. Ayushman Bharat, you've all probably heard about, this network of primary healthcare centers, and ensuring that people are able to get good medical advice, consultation, and support there. Again, a few weeks ago, I think it's also been announced that there will be electronic medical records for individuals, which the government will enable through its own, IT infrastructure and backbone. These are all going to be very, very important enablers of access to good health in rural India, in all parts of India, but especially in rural India. And I think as this database comes together, there will automatically emerge, channels of support, whether it is in learning, whether it's in distribution, or, whatever else that will happen as a result of this development. So I think it's a matter of time.
Sure. Archana, there's another question for you. The audience wants to know that the biggest challenge, which I guess you have also mentioned in pharma sales, is currently reaching out to the doctors. So, how are the pharma companies, today doing things to enable sales professionals? Any changes that you could mention?
Yeah, I think this has been very, very important for all pharma companies, ensuring that all our staff, because we were deemed as essential services, so people are working in our operations. There's also particularly sales rep who are meant to go to hospitals and doctors to sell, that we can keep them safe. So of course, we followed exactly what the government regulation was when lockdown and so on. So access has been limited. A lot of the reach has been through the virtual medium, which is digital, and it's still not fully functional. It's not that across the board all salespeople are doing their job as they were used to. So we're using this time to redo the business model, to teach them new ways of doing it, and cautiously doing work as allows safe working for all our people.
Okay, that's great. Samir, there is a question for you that this learning collaboration platform mentioned by you, what else does it have in addition to a video clip within videos and mapping courses to skills? What else features it has?
Okay, so those were just the two tools I was talking about. The prominent capability of the learning collaboration platform is it can allow you to discover all the competency levels individualized to a person in your organization and present to you in such a way that as a manager you can take decisions on it. So for example, if you are going to start a project, or you're going to start strategic initiatives, you would know suddenly that there are these people who are capable of doing these things for you. Many times in real world situations, you cannot find these things in a person's CV really, but competency is a something that you bring to the table each day. You add something new when you are a part of a project, let's say, and you suddenly get some level there. So that's one thing it provides you. Second thing is that it also provides you a recommendation engine through which you could set the training plan the way you want it. If you wanted an assisted training plan or a artificial intelligence recommended training plan, then it would work like a LMS only, but actually will bring more breadth into your course delivery. So if you would, it is a super LMS as well. Then there's a learning assessment platform to it. Then there is a performance support part to it. And then there is a set of DIY tools which are embedded into it. So if you were a organization trying to reduce your cost of content development, you would be able to create content using that platform. So these are some of the prominent features, but it's an enterprise engine, so many times customers go for customizations and they add newer features depending on who you are. So if you are a very large automotive organization, you would probably like us to manage the dealer network through it. So then it will have a lot of reporting capability to discover a lot of management decisions around the capability of the people or the real-time ability of people. So those kind of things. So it's a very rich, powerful version of if you have seen LMSs, then it could be a super LMS for you. If you have seen a performance support engine, then you could have a LMS marrying a performance support engine for you. If you have seen how the industry standard tools from Adobe or Articulate work, then you would have that capability also baked in. But by the way, most important thing is that I wanted to use this platform to make this short announcement that we are trying to help the organizations who are really finding it hard this time, because we have the social side to our organization as well. So we are on one side we are working with Government of India for their government e-marketplace initiative, and we are trying to help organizations come on board that platform and sell through it. So in the same spirit, what we are doing from our learning collaboration platform side is we are sort of to small organizations, we are sort of giving free, not trials, but actual run time on it. So for, let's say, for another year, you can use it and sort of do something good with it, so that you survive, so that your people who are sitting at home, you can train them effectively. You can make sure that their idle hours are learning hours. So these kind of things we are also doing through this platform. Yeah, so this is all I have to say.
Yeah, I'm sure that information is very useful for the audiences. Archana, my last question, because we're running short on the time, to you would be, the audience wants to know that has COVID really pushed, the investments in LXP and LMS, and is it being part of, annual budgeting now?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there was a joke going around on WhatsApp saying who brought about digital transformation in the company, and the options were CEO, COO, and C is COVID. And the answer, is COVID. So I wouldn't say it's kind of started it off, but I would definitely say it's accelerated it. So companies are being forced to kind of have a good hard look at how learning will be delivered and how can we use some of these new age tools and LXPs to really deliver effective learning. So yes.
Sure, that's really helpful. Thanks, Archana. So last question to you, Samir, would be how important is flexibility of learning mode, video versus e-learning versus document versus face-to-face for today's learner? How important is this flexibility?
So when you say flexibility, the real way to look at it is the individual taste. Now you see most of not only the youngsters, but also the people who are seniors, or they have a taste for going for an audio learning or for a video learning. Now even the print media has evolved in such a way that they are having a lot more podcasts available now, videos available. So the right thing is to provide a mix. Even a same person, sometimes reads a magazine when he is going to sleep, but he may watch a video when he sort of comes to the living room. So today the technology allows you to sort of have these modes mixing up together. You have to sort of pull it together. You don't have to pick and choose. You don't have to say it's video only that I'm going to do. But for sure, I've seen more videos being created and more videos being used. So I think that definitely is a trend. Flexibility is very important, like you said, but flexibility within the technology is also needed. So it's not just good enough to have a video. You need to have micro tagged videos. You really need to be able to go to that 3-minute section in a video. Like I mentioned to you, it's not easy to sort of go systematically across. People have very little attention span. The best of us would have, let's say, if we are in supervised situation, maybe 13 minutes, but right now I would doubt that. I'll say maybe 7 minutes is all it takes. You send me a long article, I'll save it for later. I'll probably not read it, but if you send me 3 lines, I'll read it. So that has to do with an evolving taste. So flexibility is definitely very important in so many aspects.
I agree. It looks like we've covered most of the questions. And is there anything else you would like to say before we wrap up, Samir, Archana?
So I'll say it was a pleasure to share the dais with Archana, and this discussion was really interesting because the audience were probably very informed. They asked great questions, and thank you, Tarana, for doing it, hosting it.
It's a wonderful topic to be talking about because I believe the only value that a professional can bring to oneself is through learning. It's not through anything else, and learning is life, as they say. So it's something that suddenly got prominence in corporate world much more than before, and professionals, people who've gathered on this webinar. It's a fabulous opportunity to make a difference to people.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Archana, for your time. And with this, we have reached the end of this insightful webinar. We hope the content and the knowledge shared by our esteemed speakers have helped you take your enterprise to the next level of growth. We also hope that the discussion was worth your time and you enjoyed it as much as we have enjoyed putting this all together. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day ahead.